Welcome back to another Fixing It episode. This time it's the 48K ZX Spectrum that was on my previous Triage episodes, and this one was just basically giving a flashy screen with black and white image. And I thought at the time, because I checked the ULA and that was okay, I thought at the time it was probably the caps that were faulty. But since then I've plugged it in and the voltage regulator is dead. So if I plug in the power supply, put it on 9 volts, not 15, and turn it on, my bench power supply starts current limiting straight away. I wonder if that gets hot. Let's have a look at that. It's starting to warm up. It's not getting especially hot. I mean, it's attached to the heatsink, so the heatsink will be pulling away a lot of that heat. But yeah, it's starting to warm up. There's no voltage getting through the other side. Everything else is completely dead. So I need to change that. I've got a new voltage regulator here. And let's get that out. I'm going to use this big blade tip and try and get the voltage regulator out in one go. These are not easy to remove, voltage regulators. They can be a bit tricky. Another option is just to cut the legs off and pull them out one at a time, heating each one. But I'm going to try to get this out with my new soldering station, 330 degrees. First of all, I'm just going to flow a bit more solder onto these pads. There we go. Holes didn't clear with the wick, so I'm just using my little engineer pump, save firing up the desoldering station. It's a little bit rough on this side, so I'm just gonna, I've switched to a chisel tip again, my favourite tip. Not a chisel tip. I've learned that these are called bevel tips, and this is something I've had a look at the price of new original JBC tips, and to get this tip it would cost, if I ordered this tip, about £35, and this is working fine. So I'm reluctant to spend £35 on something that might not be any better. It might be better, but this is good. I've got no complaints about this at all. Bending that into shape, put it in place so that the hole lines up. Get the heatsink in there so that it's at the right height. It's already gone too low. There we go. Sometimes the spring washer is on the top and sometimes it's on the bottom. I think it would make more sense on the bottom, but it's not going to come off. Actually, I'm going to cut these off first. They're not hard, but it'll just be kinder on the joint, on the solder joint, if I cut them off first, and easier to solder as well. Wonderful. Let's see if it voltage limits. Now, it's still voltage limiting. This might have been okay. That should be short that way and that way. But this way there should be. Sometimes you'll get resistance if you do it with the probes a certain way around like that, but it's just a capacitor charging up on the circuit, I think. So TR4 and TR5 are down here. If I put this into diode mode, that's fairly normal. Should be open one side and interesting. I'm not sure what's going on with this. just that voltage regulator. What on earth is going on? Let's verify that this was okay. Right, that's the output. I'll put the input on there, the ground on there. This is ground. And this is 5 volts. Yeah. Voltage regulator is okay. Something else is shorting out on this. What could that be? Now that cap there is pretty much dead short. So this cap here has actually gone short. A dead short. And whether it's that cap, and I'm assuming it is because it's right across it, and it's reading as low as my leads almost, or whether it's something that's connected to the positive, and you know, whether there might be a dead short somewhere else. So I'm going to warm up the desoldering station and just pop that out and see if that is the problem. No, that's a fairly normal reading. I'm guessing that the short is still there. Where does this short come from? Yeah, there's a short still there. On the 5-volt rail. Right. Well, that narrows it down a little bit. I can I'll probably find it, but I'm going to take this voltage regulator out of the circuit again just to make sure that I haven't done something, or maybe shorted something across there when I've soldered it. I've got a horrible feeling there's maybe a blob of solder on here or something, because it's an absolute dead short. Right, this is the whole voltage supply circuit for the Spectrum. And C34, which I've taken out over here, is the only thing after the 7805 that sits between ground and 5 volts up to this point. Once you get past the TR5, if there was a short between any of these rails and 5 volts and ground coming out of here, then the resistance would be higher. So it's either this side on the 7805, or it's here where this arrow goes, which is the rest of the board. All of the 5-volt supply come direct off of the voltage regulator to the whole board. Everything in this part of the voltage conversion is plus 12. Oh, there's minus 12. So there's 2 plus 12s and minus 5. There's no plus 5 comes out of this part of the circuit. It just comes straight off of the voltage regulator. So it's nothing to do with this part of the DC-DC conversion. So it's going to be either this voltage regulator, or it's going to be a chip or something on this that's connected to the 5-volt has gone short. And the most likely culprits here are these 4116s. So what I propose to do is, first of all, remove this voltage regulator again, and just to discount that. And then once I've proven it's not this side, then it's going to be something over here, which is all of the other chips that are connected to 5 volts. And then what I'll do is I'll remove the solder on each leg of these 4116s in the happy little diodes fashion. I haven't tried this yet, which is basically getting rid of all of the solder and then manipulating the pin so it's not actually touching the wire. It's a little bit of a pain, but it just saves removing every chip on the board. In the olden days, they would just cut the 5-volt leg of each one of these chips, cut them until the short disappeared to find out which chip it was. But I hate doing that. I don't like the idea of doing that. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it the happy little diodes way, which is, I think, a really good way. So let's get this voltage regulator out. Hopefully it will come out nice and easy. Why isn't it coming out? Right, so if we've still got a short, then it is a chip or something else that's connected to 5-volt and ground. So I could just check here. It was the voltage regulator. I must have bridged it somehow. It's really weird because it was doing exactly the same thing with the, yeah, that's nice and normal now. Yeah, it was doing exactly the same thing with the old voltage regulator. Well, let's clean it up better this time and do a better job, because obviously I messed up there. Nope, looks like we're putting the washer on the bottom this time. There we go. Much more normal. Where's that capacitor? I'm going to put that capacitor back. I will change. I am going to recap this entire board, but I just want to see if we've got a display now. And normal current draw. Right, with a ULA in 630 milliamps. Excellent. All right, we've got a working CPU and little else. We've got voltages, so that's not running. Let's try the Retrolium diagnostics. No, the data lines are just flashing off and on. Right, so now normally, this is quite interesting actually. Normally at this point I would take the heatsink off and scope the reset and clock pins on the CPU, or I'd do it over on here, but I should be able to get to everything on here. Yeah, so clock is just up here, and reset should be, yeah, reset is here as well. So I can scope these without having to mess around with the heatsink. This is really good. I've been looking forward to doing this. I've also got a nice ground point to hook onto. Lovely. Right, let's try the clock first, which is clock. Yep, we've got a good clock. And reset is here, so let's try reset. It's very noisy. Yeah, the reset is a little quick. Probably the capacitor, the reset capacitor is on the way out. But yeah, this is great. I can scope data lines. Halt is active low, so that's not halted. Is there anything getting warm? What's that? That's the ULA and the processor. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I say that the processor is dead on this. Yeah, I reckon the processor's dead. But the first thing to do is change all these caps. Right, yeah, I'm going to just take them all out and replace them. Recapped. Same thing. Right, without anything else getting hot, without any other indications of problems, knowing that that's right, I think this CPU's gone. Listen, on these 4116s, this is the data bus. That doesn't look right. Oh, that one's okay. That one's okay. Whee! Well, I might be shorting something out here somewhere. I don't know where though. Oh, there's something going on here when I'm pressing this. Oh, wow. This capacitor is crushed down on, and I think it's touching a trace. Yeah, it's touching, oh God. It was touching a wire underneath it. Has that fixed it? There's another one there. I do not like these disc capacitors in here. Right, the data bus is now looking healthy across all of these. I wonder if I get anything with diagnostics now. Nope. I don't know. I think I might need to remove the CPU. I think that's the most likely culprit here. Right, this is where we are. I have taken the scope and I've scoped every address. I've scoped every pin on all of the memory chips. I can't see anything unusual. I've tested the ULA again in another computer and that is good. I don't think there's anything mechanically wrong with this, with the passives or a bridge connection somewhere. I'm just getting, the computer is just not working. I'm not getting any help from the diagnostics on this occasion, which does happen occasionally and is not the diagnostics fault. But what that is telling me is that the computer has activity but isn't running. So it could be something on the memory, it could be something with these logic chips, it could be the ROM, and it could be the CPU. Everything else I feel comfortable with saying is okay. I don't think it's the ROM, because with the Steam card plugged in, the ROM is discounted. I don't think it's the logic chips, because I think unless there was a catastrophic short, which would probably show up as heat, and it is not, we would get something. I think we would get something on the diagnostics. I think it's the CPU. The CPU is the only thing that shows up as warm. The CPU is here. Oh, the ULA will obviously show up as warm. Oh, the voltage regulator is definitely going to show up as warm because it hasn't got a heatsink on it. So I can't really show you that. But yeah, the CPU is the only thing that really does show up as warm. There is activity on it, but that doesn't mean it's fully working. That's my best guess at the moment. One thing I haven't tried is cleaning this with a bit more aggressively. I did give it a wipe over and contact clean with an eraser, but I didn't go at it with the fiberglass pencil. It is quite crusty, so I'm just going to give this one more try before I start pulling chips out. Yeah, I've still got the same thing. I haven't got it on capture, but yep, same thing. So I want to take that CPU out. Let's do that. It's got nice long legs on it. This shouldn't be very difficult to remove at all. Oh, that's the ROM. Oh, the ROM just got reflowed. to make sure I haven't bridged anything. Right, I've searched everywhere for a board with a socketed CPU, and I just can't find one. I don't know where they are. Well, the thing is, a lot of the issue 2s that I've got have got the mods on top of them, so you don't tend to socket those. And the only ones I have got socketed are broken, so they're going to be future videos. I don't want to fix them now. So I wouldn't normally do it this way round, but I'm just going to put the socket in and put a new CPU in there and see if it works. It's better to put the suspected faulty IC in a known good board to see if it then becomes faulty. I don't have that luxury this time. Socket installed. Let's get a new CPU. It's not new, but let's try it anyway. Actually, that one looks better. Some bent legs on there I need to sort out. That looks good. Right. Okay. Good luck, everybody. Ha! It's working. I was on internal ROM selection. That's why the diagnostics wasn't working. Hey! Horrible video quality, but I think that's down to my capture device not having a very good connection. Right, that's all working. So, I would like to do the DC-DC mod on this, just to make this one a rounded and complete computer, because I quite like issue 3 boards. I think they're from the heyday before they started trying to cost reduce and farm out the manufacturing to other places. So this is probably made in Scotland. The only thing it's missing really is the protection that the later revisions got for the DC-DC circuit. Oh, by the way, one of the big problems that I found with this was these. Oh, it's another one that's happened too. These disc capacitors have been crushed down, and they were shorting out onto different vias underneath them. Because there's no covered traces on the top of the board here, it's very easy for them to do. And there's different, there are vias underneath these legs, and they kind of kneel down onto them. So that was a problem. So I'll watch out for that and make sure these are all stood up when it gets put back in its case. But yeah, the DC-DC mod I'll do now. It involves changing some components over here for different components, adding some components here, and making the flux capacitor, as Dave Steamy Briggs calls it. So I'll do that, and then we'll button this one up. Right, I put together a little kit of parts to do this. There's some nice instructions. I'll leave a link to these instructions for this particular mod in the video description. So we need a 1 microfarad electrolytic capacitor, which is there. We don't need 7 22 microfarad capacitors. They're already installed. This must be the entire recap kit. So we need one 2K2 resistor, which is here, 2K2. And we need one 220 ohm resistor, which is there. We need a 5V1 Zener diode, which I have here, and a 1N4148 diode, which is there. And it says 2 BA157s, but it also says 1 new and 1 replacement, because you can recycle one off of the board here. So that's there. That's all I need. And then I just need to follow the instructions. Right, so the flux capacitor part of it is down this side, and we need to take a 22 microfarad capacitor. And we have to remove this one at C47 anyway, so I'm going to take that one out, and then that gets reused in the mod. Because this is a brand new cap, so I'm going to use that one. And we have to desolder the left hand side, the anode side of D15, which is this one here. I took this one out and it's not long enough for what I want to do, so I'm going to replace it with a new one, and I'm going to do the same mod that Dave Steamy Briggs does, or I've seen Dave Steamy Briggs do on the Spectrum for Everyone Facebook page, and that's the flux capacitor mod. I'm not going to be able to do it quite as posh because this BA157 here isn't quite long enough, but I'm going to make do. So I'm going to solder that to there, and then I'm going to put this BA157 diode in this point here. So I'm going to put the BA157 in this point here, which is ground, right next to the loudspeaker, like that. And then I'm going to join all these three together with a blob of solder. And chop off the spare bits. Like that. Not quite as neat as Dave does it, but it's all right. Oh, I'm going to need to remove a bit of solder mask on this side where the BA157 comes through. Probably would have been easier before I put that through, but I didn't know it was there. I'll solder it on the top side as well. Oh, it's a really good joint. I always do this one. Yeah, I'm going to give that a little bit of solder on the top side because it hasn't flowed through. That's the first bit done. Now I need to remove a bunch of components from here and replace them with other ones. So I've got to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components and fit some different ones. So let's just get all those out first. All right, let's see what's come loose. All the components out. All right, D12 is a 2K2 resistor. It's this one. Yep. D16 for the capacitor. I'll do that last, I think, because that's going to be the tricky one. I want to get the other ones done first. So R60 for the other resistor. R60 is that one. R54 for a 5.1 Zenith diode. It's this one. And a stripe on the right. The other diode with the stripe on the other side. That just leaves this one, and this one has to go in that point there, which it doesn't fit with the negative on the left. So I'm going to have to bend the legs around and underneath. Something like this. It's not very neat, but it fits in there nice, and it sits in on top of the components next to it quite nicely. There's a component leg on the speaker. And another leg there, like a chip leg. Where did that come from? It's probably been on there since the day it was made. Right, or it came off my workbench. That is the DC-DC mod done. That capacitor removed, that diode added, that capacitor, well, moved from there to there. That diode then joined to those. That capacitor added and a few other components added there. That should protect the circuit from horrible imbalances in voltages. Right, let's turn it on and see if it blows up. Oh, one thing we've got to do, composite mod first. Composite mod complete. Now let's plug it in and see if it blows up. Well, somehow I managed to turn off the recording of the testing part of this. And as you can see, I've already put it all back together. I don't want to take it apart because it's got the original membrane inside. And that is not very, well, it's fairly stable, but I don't want to mess around with it too much. So, just to show you that the machine is working. There we go. Any interference you can see is my capture card. Is not the best. But yeah, that's working, and I've completely tested the keyboard and that works as well too. There we go, it works. Yeah, keyboard is all fully working. The case is not in the best, well, the faceplate is not in the best condition. That's the one thing I would change. The rubber key mat will probably clean up fine with a good wash. The plastic part of the case is good, and I think this is a good sound machine that will last for a long time to come. It's got all new caps, it's got the DC-DC mod done. It's an issue 3, so it's of a nice vintage, but it's a working machine and will probably work for years to come. It's worked for this long, so why wouldn't it continue to? Right, that's all I've got for this one. Don't forget to subscribe to both my channels, More Fun Making It and More Fun Fixing It, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Yay.